royal biographer Angela Levin joins us once again. A very good morning to you, Angela.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I mean, there's lots of different developments over the last few days involving Prince Andrew, whether he asked his police post protection officer to try and dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre, whether or not he's agreed to stand down from various titles, whether he will lose his title as a prince, which would involve an act of parliament, and what he did or did not know, what he did or did not do in relation to Virginia Giuffre and Jeffrey Epstein. Which of all of the stories we've seen do you think is the most damaging for Prince Andrew?
I think the whole lot is. That's what makes it worse. It's like putting things in a pudding. It's upsetting to everyone. It's pulling the royal family through the mud. It's making anyone who has any feeling that raping young girls is absolutely disgusting. There's that. There's a thing of using protection officers to do jobs like that, finding if somebody's done something awful. I mean, this is when he kept saying he doesn't know who
Virginia, yeah. I mean, again,
Virginia.
But nevertheless paid her 12 million quid. I would like to point out, when you're talking about the raping, obviously, this is what Jeffrey Epstein is accused of doing. It's very interesting talking to one of my callers earlier, Shirley, and she said she didn't think that Prince Andrew should be stripped of his titles because actually nothing's been proved. He hasn't ever been in a court of law and been accused of an actual crime. Even the allegation from Virginia Giuffre that he had sex with her on 3 occasions, he denies this, has always denied this. She was 17 years old. She was above the age of consent in this country. That wouldn't be a crime. The only issue is, was he aware that Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, pretty much anyone who had any close dealings with Jeffrey Epstein was aware that he was trafficking underage girls, many much younger than Virginia Giuffre, 14, 15-year-olds, and that they were basically, to all intents and purposes, trapped and were being handed out as if they were, sweeties to his friends. Now, was he aware of that? Did he think it was normal? But that's my thing, is that it's pretty obvious to me that he can't possibly not have been.
I'll tell you why, because I had the filming of this some time ago when he went over to say goodbye to his friend because he wasn't going to see him anymore.
Yes.
But everyone said to him, well, lots of people said to him, why didn't you just send an email?
Yeah.
No, I'm much too
honourable,
well-mannered.
He said he was too honourable, he told Newsnight.
Too honourable. So he went there, and somebody who I know did a film of him, and there were young girls coming in and out and looking back and forward and then running off. It was the most horrible sight you could imagine. They were all in absolutely shocking clothes.
Jeffrey Epstein's house, which was like the most expensive house in Manhattan,
yes.
And that's where Prince Andrew stayed, bizarrely, for 4 days and nights while he was going over to see Jeffrey Epstein to say, I can't be friends with you anymore, what with your conviction for trafficking underage girls for prostitution. And he stayed there for 4 days and nights. They were seen close. They've got that picture of him, Central Park, close in conversation. But you're saying, yeah, there's footage of young girls. Again, he didn't have a teenage daughter. They weren't friends of his daughter. Why were teenage girls going in and out of his house?
But he did say to Virginia that I'm going to guess how old you were.
Yeah.
And he got it right.
17.
And then he said, oh, I've got 2 daughters just a little bit under you.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel sick.
Well, this is the thing. Now, again, I have to say at this point, Prince Andrew denies that they ever even met, even though there's a photograph and she's described quite a lot of detail. But I don't, look, other than Shirley, I don't think there are many people in this country who think that Prince Andrew isn't up to his eyeballs in this. Seems to me very clear that Prince William and King Charles think he's up to his eyeballs in this, and he's doing a lot of damage to the royal family. The royal family are in the news now terribly, either for someone having cancer or for horrible revelations involving Prince Andrew. But in terms of the allegation involving, well, it's not even, I don't know why we're saying it's an allegation. Leaked emails show he wrote an email to the then Queen's Deputy Press Secretary saying, I've asked my close protection officer for to dig, given a social security number, date of birth, Virginia Giuffre, to dig up some dirt on this girl.
Yeah.
I mean,
he obviously did recognise her and did know her, because you don't want to find that information if you've got no interest in the person and you've had no connection with them. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Absolutely not. And so you can see lots of things that he's doing, if you look really carefully and that are going to be in the book, that actually do make you feel that it couldn't happen to anybody else, actually, because, you know, when he says to her that she's got to have sex with him because it is his right.
His birthright.
You know, I mean, it's a very sort of royal thing to say.
And also it ties in with a lot of stories that you and I will have heard many times over the years about Prince Andrew. Here's the thing. The allegation involving asking his post protection officer. Now, the relationship, I've talked to a number of officers who've worked in this role, say that you have to have this very sort of close relationship to make sure that you can stay close to the person you are, you know, basically in charge of keeping alive and keeping safe. Prince Andrew, you know, he was, you know, he was the Queen's son, he was a target. Those officers, they have to maintain a close relationship. Would it have been something that officer would have had to tell his senior, I mean, he'd go, OK, here's the national security number, here's the date of birth for this woman who's made this accusation. Would he have, without a shadow of a doubt, have had to go to a senior officer and said, I've been asked to do this, what do I do? And at what point would that have gone to the Queen? If the Deputy Press Secretary to the late Queen was told about this, would that have gone to the Queen or to now King Charles?
Well, I think that they're all frightened of their boss. And I think, well, I know Andrew wasn't very kind to all his staff. Now, if he tells them what they have to do, they have to do it. It was a bit the same with Harry when he was actually taking drugs outside his school.
Yeah.
And he had the people looking after him, but they didn't dare say anything to then Prince Charles, because he said that they would lose their jobs.
But isn't it also the case that they don't say anything because otherwise Prince Harry would have just, you know, basically escaped from them, and then he would be less safe. Their job wasn't to prevent him from committing a crime.
Yes, well,
their job was to prevent him being the victim of a crime.
Exactly. They said that it's not their job to watch if he's taking drugs or how he's drinking.
That's a different thing.
Anything like that. And it would be the same because it isn't their job.
But how much do you think that the senior royals would have been told? Certainly their staff would have been aware of these. I don't believe for a nanosecond that these close protection officers don't talk to their seniors and they don't talk to the press secretary and other senior people and say, by the way, this is going on, nod, wink, and then someone makes a decision about whether or not the senior royals are told. Come on, you know.
Well, it would have been very difficult to talk to the Queen, that I'm sure of, because he was her favourite child.
She had a blind spot.
And he wouldn't have liked to hear what terrible things are happening about him. So I doubt if anybody would actually want to do that. And again with Prince Philip, because he liked him very well too, because he was macho and strong. And Charles was sort of weak and loved flowers and reading.
But this is an issue, isn't it? Because if the Queen or President had staff who wouldn't tell them the truth, that's a bit of an issue. What about Sarah Ferguson? She was out of the fold and then back in the fold. I mean, it's a bizarrely close friendship they have. And all credit to them, they're still very close. I'm sure it makes it much easier for their daughters that they're close. Sarah Ferguson still lives in the same house, so she can't use the Duchess of York title anymore either. I was amazed to learn she still had it, to be honest with you. But all this evidence that she has been in close cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein, even when, you know, going with her daughters to celebrate him coming out of, I mean, his sort of comedy pathetic attempt to open prison after he was convicted of a crime, taking her daughters to see him, asking him for money. I mean, the whole thing is just so tacky. These people have no morals.
It stinks. But actually, she said she asked $15,000 from him, but actually she asked for $100,000 and she never returned it back. And he was furious with her. So, I mean, she's had no morals at all.
You think he was? I mean, look, $15,000 doesn't cover a weekend away for Sarah Ferguson, judging by the way she lives.
Well, that's what she
100,000 is down the back. Yeah, that's what she says. 100,000 is down the back of the sofa for a multi-billionaire like Jeffrey Epstein. He would have known. Part of the deal with royals like that is that, you know, inverted commas royals, you know, you pay the rich pay, and then they get access and they get to be around people with titles. That's how it works.
Yeah, well, it stinks then, doesn't it?
It very much does. Where are you on the titles? So he's not allowed to use HRH. That's been quite a long time, Prince Andrew. He's not allowed to say he's the Duke of York anymore.
No.
She can't Duchess of York.
And he can't say the Knight of Garter. Now, the Knight of Garter, it's amazing it's not gone before, but it's the oldest and highest ranking order and chivalry in the UK. It means respectable behaviour, especially from men to women.
Yeah, well,
there we are.
That's no longer appropriate. What about the Prince title? Because that is conferred to him. He is the Prince Andrew. That was what's on his birth certificate. Well, he was the son of a sitting monarch. Should they strip him of that title? Should he give it up, or should there be an Act of Parliament, or not?
Well, I think there should be an Act of Parliament. They can't take it away without Parliament. I mean, they said the other day that they didn't want to get the Parliament be so busy. But I mean, this is very important. It's not busy.
Is it important?
I think that King Charles was thinking again, and William absolutely wants to get rid of Prince. I think people think a Prince is much more important than Duke, actually.
Of course.
It sounds much better. So they've got to pull it out, and it's just too bad. And if it takes a year, then he's got to just stay away and not be seen and not be in his home either. I mean, it is absolutely...
Are we paying for any of his home? I mean, I know he's in this sort of, he does get some money. He got money from the lake. We're not paying for anything.
No.
I really do not want a penny of my money going on this man.
No, neither do I. But actually, because of that, he's got to keep it clean and nice and working well. And they think that it's not going to happen. You see, he's got a contract that goes up to 2078, right? And if then he can be thrown out.
I don't think he's going to live that long.
Do that. Someone said this morning that you can find reasons to stop the contract. Okay. So let's hope for that, because they don't even want him anywhere near using the horses, using the fields, anything at all.
He's going to be banished. We need to find a desert island for him. I mean, what about Jeffrey Epstein's old home? Angela Levin, we'll have to leave it there. Royal biographer Angela Levin, thank you very much. Well, she wants all the titles gone. She's had enough. Do you care? I genuinely don't want a nanosecond of parliamentary time wasted on this complete waste of a space who is Prince Andrew. I just want him to disappear off and be treated with disdain and contempt that he deserves. But I couldn't give two hoots whether he's an HRH, a Prince, a Duke, a Baron. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. It's irrelevant to all of our lives. I just don't care. But I want to know what you think. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Text us on 87222. Get in touch on X at Talk TV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text cost one, standard network rate message. Listening to all of that is Sam Armstrong. Do you care?
Look, I do not want to be in a position in which I defend Prince Andrew. There is nobody on earth I would like to defend less. However, let's get a couple of things straight. This is a man who we read in the newspapers is now sitting around in his house, basically in his underpants, playing video games all day, because he has been told by his family, we don't want to be seen with you. He has been fired from every job that he has. He has been stripped of his titles, and he will go down in history as one of the most disgusting people to have ever occupied high royal
He's not done it. He's not committed a crime. No one knows of anything that he's done legal. I mean,
and this is my point. He has never. The allegations against him are not criminal. Let's be blunt, the royal family, once there was a basic case against him, once a case was arguable in court that would have required a full trial with evidence and witnesses, they were never ever going to permit him to go into court
in
and
America.
have all of this out in the open. And that was the situation he was in. And he has now been further humiliated, and he's accepted that, to an extent, that he has not even permitted to use the titles that he was basically born with. At this point, I accept he needs to stay well clear.
You think he's been punished enough?
At this point, do we just not need to just leave him alone a little bit? And Virginia Giuffre, she's said her pitch. She's had 12 million quid, right? A lot of money. And there are other people within the Jeffrey Epstein victim community that are not wild about her, owing to allegations that she became a sort of senior victim.
Well, no, I mean, basically their job was to basically go and get other girls.
Find other girls.
That's how they operate.
And those girls say, you know, not everything that she has said is right. And she's now dead. She can't be cross-examined on anything she says in this book. She cannot be scrutinised. And we say with Harry, and we said with Meghan, and we say with Andrew, can't they just disappear and go away? Well, to an extent, that does require
us to stop talking about them.
Stop talking about them. He said no more titles. He said he's not getting anything, any public money. He's not got any public honour. He's not allowed at royal functions. His family don't even want to talk to him.
That's enough. That's kind of that is kind of where I am. I just want him to just slink away. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong because he's an entitled prince. I just don't care. I don't want to be paying for him. I just don't want to have anything to do. I don't want him on my front pages. I don't want to have to talk about him ever again. I want to just slink off into the sunset. I very, very, very strongly suspect that there are two people who were telling their stories about this, what happened between Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew, and I very much suspect that one of them is telling more truth than the other one. And unfortunately, she is now dead, having committed suicide after being a victim of abuse. And I'm sorry, I don't believe you do pay 12 million quid to somebody you've never met.
He has obviously met her, but again, Julia, the allegations she makes were about Prince Andrew were not criminal.
Were not criminal. No, and I think that's a very fair point. But I think everyone thinks he's a sleaze bucket and a liar and an embarrassment to the family, the royal family, and by extension to the country, because this keeps coming up. I can completely understand why Charles and William are tearing their hair out over this, but, you know, there we are. But do I want, I say, a nanosecond of an act of parliament costs money, time. We have that many problems in this country. I mean, you know, why don't we do something about grooming? Any time you would spend on that bill, let's do it on grooming gangs. Let's do it about illegal migration. Let's do it about the fact we've got no-go zones for Jews in this country because Muslim so-called self-appointed extremist community leaders don't want them there. Why don't we, you know, they should expend any parliament. If you've got a spare 5 minutes in Parliament, spend it on that, please.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is the King, the Prince of Wales, have acted as decisively as they possibly could in this situation. I don't accept that they could have done any more. It must have been painful for them to call up the brother and just say, no, you're a disgrace. We never want to see you. We never want to be associated with you. You're dead to us. And they did it.
But he keeps on popping up, like at funerals and things like that, like just going, hi, look at me. No, you need to go away now. He doesn't get it because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. Prince Andrew, you definitely did something wrong, mate. Whether it was criminal or not, you definitely did something wrong. 11:24 is the time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and on everything else we're talking about.